Hello, everybody. We're back with a Vroom 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 travel blog. We are with another world-famous travel blogger. This is Megan of mappingmegan.com, who joins us today from Canberra, Australia. Megan, good to talk to you today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we're absolutely thrilled to be talking to you. I've been a fan of your blog that you and your husband have been working on for many years now. And at Vroom Vroom Vroom, we really enjoy your blog posts. We really enjoy your articles, as well as reading about the places that you've been and the cool stuff you've been up to. Why don't you tell our readers a little bit more about what your website is, as well as any of your social media accounts that you might want to share?
For sure. Well, so as you mentioned, we run a travel blog, and it's an adventure travel blog because we absolutely believe that life shouldn't be monotonous or boring. And yeah, so basically I'm from Australia and my husband Mike is from the States. We met in Africa, as you do, a little bit in between there, but we were both climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and then we met at the bottom after the climb and just kind of kept in touch and used a long-distance relationship as an excuse to travel. So instead of kind of him coming to Australia or me going to the States, we met up in London or like Paris or Amsterdam and really used that passion of travel, I guess, to keep our relationship alive. And then we married recently in Hawaii, and we've just kind of been full-time traveling since then. So our travel blog is kind of articles, tips, advice, videos, all that fun stuff about the places we've been, the places we want to go, and pretty much inspiring articles which tell you how to do it too, because if we can do it, anybody really can. Like, it's just really about changing your mindset to believe that any kind of lifestyle is possible and reality really can be negotiable. So yeah, we're on all the fun social medias, anything you can name. I guarantee we're probably on. You've got like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Tumblr. Like, the list is continuing to be endless kind of now. But definitely check us out if you're after any travel tips or any travel photos. Mike's a wildlife photographer, so we specifically love getting out there into the wild. And yeah, our motto is that zoos don't count. So everything that you see is we aim for wild. But yeah, so that's us, and happy to be here and chat to you today.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so I've read on a previous interview that you did a couple of years ago that you mentioned Mount Kilimanjaro. You said that getting to the summit then was one of the best moments of your life. I want to put you on the spot here. How does it compare to your wedding in Hawaii? Which one is better?
I think they're a little bit different, but I didn't cry at my wedding, but I did cry when I summited Kilimanjaro. So I think just different emotions maybe. Kilimanjaro was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, whereas the wedding in Hawaii, that was probably one of the easiest things I've ever done in my life. So I would say maybe I'm not going to answer that question. I'm just going to say they're different.
I hear you.
My husband's listening, so I may get into trouble.
Absolutely. I can understand. If my wife were here, you know, I have to be careful.
For sure.
So tell us about you and Mike. You've touched on your relationship already. You've been blogging for about 8 years now. How do you continue to come up with really interesting stories to talk about? Do you always plan ahead where you're going, and is that something that goes into your travel plans? You know, what would be best to write about in places that you haven't been before, or is it a bit of both? Is it sort of the adventure leads into the article, or does the article basically dictate what you're going to do next?
Pretty much the adventure leads into the article. I'm actually probably one of the most unorganized bloggers you've got out there. Everybody's talking about having these editorial schedules, and I am actually very last minute. I publish daily at the moment, so in terms of thinking up content, that actually comes pretty easily to me, and I have this huge list of ideas that I haven't even gotten to yet. As you mentioned, we've been traveling for kind of up to 8 years now, so I could sit in Canberra for the rest of my life and probably still have stuff to talk about daily. But I actually write an article and pretty much publish it on the day of. So I have a general kind of like week outline in my head of what I'm going to be doing, but everything kind of gets changed around by the day. And I really kind of, why I love this job is because I'm so passionate about it. So I really kind of write what I'm feeling at the time. In terms of the destinations, yeah, we go where the kind of cheapest travel is. So we take up as many kind of last minute deals and that kind of thing. That's really what dictates our travel more. And then the articles come out of that. Right now, we're lucky enough that the blog is at a stage where we are sometimes invited to a destination specifically to cover that, for instance, and that like a specific press trip may be the reason that we go somewhere kind of thing. So in that sense, the articles can often dictate the way the travel goes. But yeah, generally it's just kind of the blog, and its purpose originally was there just to document our travels and for me to have an outlet for my writing, which is one of my biggest passions. So really that's just kind of evolved, and that's still at the crux what it is about.
Awesome, awesome. So if you had a place that you haven't been, if you could tell us which place around the world you would most like to see that you haven't seen, and maybe tell us about the favorite place that you have been together.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I always say the moon for the place I haven't been that I would love to be, because I would love to be the first blogger to reach the moon, so I just have to find myself in a room with Richard Branson and maybe cozy up for that Virgin Galactic flight. But seriously, that'd be amazing. We could just to see the Earth's curvature. I know technically that's out of the kind of context of the world, but thinking big here. And if you don't think to reach the sky, then you'll never get there. But otherwise, Antarctica, that's a huge place on both our bucket list, and we actually have quite a lot of content on Antarctica on our website because we've sourced so many guest posts and guest blogs from people that have been. So we're really, really keen to get there. It's kind of like the last, as I said, we're really passionate about wildlife, so that's really one of the last untouched and untouristy and just completely authentic destinations left in the world. And I guess for that reason, our favorite destination would probably be Iceland. We just absolutely loved it. We went last year, and it's just so natural, and it's so untouched, and it's so wild. And once you kind of get outside of Reykjavik, which is the main city center, it's just, there were no tourists at all. Like, we went during summer, which is peak tourist season because it's 24 hours of daylight. Literally, the sun never sets. It's crazy. We were eating dinner at 3 a.m. thinking it was 6 p.m. Kind of throws off your body clock a bit. But it's just unbelievably, like, the greens are so vivid, and you've never seen nature like this in your life. You have these huge ice caps from mountains that just pierce the sky, and just the amount of, I'm not a birding person, but you've got puffins. They're the little comical kind of creatures with the big orange beaks. Everything's just so exotic, and you truly feel like you're out of this world. So Iceland by far is the best destination we've been to so far. Just pick up a car rental and drive yourself around. So it's great.
Absolutely, it's the only way to go. Of course, at Vroom Vroom Vroom, we're quite willing to help you book a car rental if you want to. Along those lines, let me ask you about traveling in general, and especially for beginners. If somebody has not traveled to another country or may have only traveled in a limited way around their region, what kind of advice would you give, just off the top of your head, for people who want to start traveling more around the world?
Well, you definitely, the thing about travel is there's no one set way to go. Like, there's no right and wrong way to travel. It's really based on your preferences and what you like. So, like, when I started traveling, I did the group tours, like Kentucky and Top Deck and all that kind of thing. And while now, like, that's not necessarily the most authentic way to travel. So, like, you're on a strict itinerary which isn't flexible. You may not be able to kind of integrate and immerse yourself in the culture so much because you're constantly on the go and you're seeing one city at a time kind of thing. But if it's your first trip, then that's definitely a way to kind of ignite your passion for travel and maybe like smash those stereotypes that travel is scary, because once you actually get out there, you see that it's really not that bad, and it does open the door to a whole new world. So if you are apprehensive about travel, then maybe a group tour is a great way just to start. And then after you see that the world's not actually such a scary place, you can start kind of taking on more responsibility with your travel planning and maybe look into experiences like couch surfing, where you can meet the locals, or dining out in local restaurants instead of going to the Western ones. So there really is no right or wrong way to travel, and there are definitely different kind of packages out there depending on your level of comfort and your level of experience. Obviously, Mike and myself now, just plan all of our travel ourselves. We don't go through kind of any like package deals, that kind of thing anymore. But like, if you're a beginner, then absolutely highly recommend them, because if you need somebody to do that planning for you just to put your mind at ease and so that it's not overwhelming, then jump into it, go for it.
Very good information for anybody that wants to begin traveling on a large scale or even just in earnest. I also want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the other side of your life, which would be writing as well as editing and publishing, as I know there's a lot of work that goes into that side. But as a writer, what advice would you give to people who are interested in travel blogging? And as one of the leading travel blogs in the world, and especially in Australia, tell us a little bit about maybe the platform that you use, or things that you've learned about blogging and websites since you got started, just anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the biggest thing about, the biggest advice I can give you about writing is to honestly just start. Like, even if it's full of crap, just write down whatever comes to your mind, because the only way you're going to improve is by practicing, and the only way you're going to be able to kind of assess your writing style or where you're at is to put something down on a page. And even if you just kind of start up on a free blog, on a free website, then you can see kind of where you're going. And that's really how I started. When I did start 8 years ago, I had just a Tumblr blog, which is a free platform. Anyone can sign up and create their own blog. The difference there is that it would be, for instance, mappingmegan.tumblr.com instead of mappingmegan.com. So I signed up on there, and then I started writing my articles for a while, and then it really started to take off, so I decided I would actually invest in my own domain. And that means, as I mentioned, that it's the mappingmegan.com, and that you're actually paying to host a proper website of your own. The other tip I've heard a lot of people saying, and it is actually brilliant advice for writing, is to actually read a lot. So like, if you're looking to become a really great writer, then immerse yourself in really great writing. So start reading, like identify leaders within your field, start reading what they're writing, identify what kind of styles work best, and then find a style that works for you. So really it's just kind of jumping in head first and taking the plunge. I think that's the scariest step, honestly, is to decide that you're actually going to do it, because everyone can talk about it, but it's actually more difficult when it comes to actually just taking that step and punching in and making it happen. So I have quite a lot of different write-ups that I've written to help kind of the beginner bloggers, and I'm more than happy to share that with anyone else. Eventually I'll put them into an ebook to start selling. I just haven't found the time for that yet, but definitely anybody who's interested in starting up, I have a few YouTube tutorials that I've done as like presentations for my high school media class. I went back to and spoke to them about starting up blogging, so anyone's more than welcome to email me, and I'll happily send through those resources. I go through, the majority of blogs go through a platform called WordPress.org, and that's pretty much how you set it up, and that's your whole back end, and that's how you make the website look pretty and all of that kind of thing. There is a very steep learning curve with blogging. How I got into it, so when I moved to the US, the whole marriage visa thing, it's this very long, complicated, fun red tape process, and I couldn't work for 3 months while I was there, so that's really what kind of gave me the time and the kind of inspired me to just get this done. So I sat down for 3 months and I learned everything, and web coding and all that fun stuff, which does my head in, but it's a challenge, and if you thrive off challenges, then this is one for you perhaps. So yeah, it is a big learning curve, so kind of don't go into it. Like, if you're looking to start a travel blog and you're looking to start a travel blog to monetize it, definitely don't go in with the expectation that it's easy, because it is. There are long hours and you really need to be dedicated to it. But the rewards and the perks of that far outweigh the hard work that you do put in. So yeah, definitely email me if you'd like any resources on how to get set up. There are so many articles online now as well that you can just quickly Google, which will walk you through how to set up a blog step by step. So it's fairly straightforward process. It's just kind of getting into a groove of how you like to operate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fascinating. I think that's a wealth of great information, and it's really cool that you're willing to share with people that are trying to just get started. That's great. Definitely we want to ask you a question that we ask a lot of the travel bloggers that we talk to. We always like to ask what you think the story of your life would be if it were made into a movie, and perhaps if you have a favorite actress, who would play Megan, who would play Mike? If you have a favorite actor, who would play your husband?
I would have to say, let's go with, I'll stick to Australian actors. We'll go with Liam Hemsworth for that one. And Rachel McAdams for myself.
That would make a great couple on screen, as I'm sure you guys are in your real life. Awesome.
Love Rachel McAdams. She's great.
Yes, she really is. Wonderful actress. My riding partner in the Philippines, Mick, asked me to ask you guys about the time you met at Kilimanjaro, and I did touch on that earlier, but I want to ask you this question as well. She said that your love story is really inspiring to her, and she wanted to know if you two, or either one of you, had a premonition that someday you would marry someone that you met while on your travels, or did everything just come as a surprise?
It kind of honestly just all happened as a surprise. Like, I know it's absolutely cliche that people say, when you stop looking, you'll find someone. But that's genuinely pretty much what happened. Like, so I pretty much just decided to stop dating, and I would just, it would happen kind of thing. And I was just going to stop with looking and that whole game. And I guess it's I hate saying that it's meant to be, but it kind of does sound like it's meant to be. So we were both traveling to Africa with different partners at the time, and both individually those partners pulled out. So we both decided, screw it, we'll go by ourselves. Like, what's going to stop me from going just because someone else has said they can't come with me, kind of thing. Yeah, so, and then we just, we met through mutual travelers. So before I went up, I'd met these 2 Australian guys who we sat down and chatted, as you just do. You make new friends when you're traveling. And then 2 weeks later, after I'd finished the climb, I came back, and they were at the hotel again, and Mike had actually been on their tour. So they came over and said hi, introduced Mike. Then they had to go to the airport and catch their flight, which left him. So we just kind of ended up sitting up all night and talking, and before we knew it, it was 2, 3 a.m. and we were still out at the bar, and we'd still just been literally chatting each other's ears off all night. So we swapped email addresses, and then we kept in touch because we pretty much only had 12 hours together before we had to leave and jet off to separate parts of the world. And yeah, so we pretty much kept in touch, and it got to the stage where we were talking every night and sending cute gifts back and forth, like chocolates and all that cutesy stuff you do when you're trying to court someone, I guess. And we decided we'd meet up in Scotland for New Year's that year. So, and then we started a long distance relationship, and I guess the rest is history. It's kind of, yeah, it's funny how fast and just, I guess, when you know, like, it just happened and it just worked for us. So yeah, I guess it was a complete surprise, but a very welcome one.
And that's a beautiful story, and that is a wonderful example of, like you said, when you're not looking, something finds you, and that's wonderful. Congratulations to both of you for finding each other.
Thank you so much.
Tell us, where are you guys going to go next? What does the rest of 2015 hold for Megan and Mike?
Well, we're actually very excited because we just signed a 12-month lease. We've been traveling full time for the last God knows how long. We haven't had kind of slept in the same bed for more than a couple of nights, and it's been a constant string of airports and living in hotel suites. So we're actually really excited to kind of establish a home base, and that's going to be in Canberra, which is here in Australia. And as I said to someone, like, just because we're setting up a home base doesn't mean that that's like the end of our travels. You can have a place that you call home and still jet off. The difference is you get to come back to your own bed at the end of that. So we're very excited to kind of set ourselves up with a base. And as I said, there's no set one way or right or wrong way to travel. So that's going to be our way going forward. We're going to be looking forward to really discovering Australia, because what we realized as well is that I've lived here for my whole life, but I've hardly traveled the country. Like, I've hardly seen anything here. We take up every opportunity to jet off and see the world. You don't travel your own backyard. So we're really looking forward to putting a big emphasis this year on local travel, and maybe taking in a bit of New Zealand and little bits of Asia as well. Awesome.
Yeah, in Australia and New Zealand, you have a lot of destinations to check out right there in your own backyard. So awesome.
Absolutely.
That's really great, and really awesome that you guys have settled down and found a nice place to live. That's great. I guess that's all the questions I have for you today, but I do want to take the time again to encourage all of our listeners to visit mappingmegan.com. We will have the link down in the article, and as well as share it on our social media channels. Definitely, as Megan has told us, if you guys want to talk about blogging or whatever, you're free to email her. And that's a really great resource, because this is truly one of the most accomplished and best bloggers on the internet. So I definitely want to thank you for taking time out of your morning in Australia to speak with me today. And I want to wish you the best of luck in your life and with your travel blog, Megan.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having us here. We're a big fan of everything you're doing over there, so yeah, really happy with the opportunity to come and speak to you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you.